As young David would sit in class, he would become very anxious. His face would turn red, and he was trying so hard to hold in his cough. No, not again. It's been happening all class. Young David would tighten his stomach and, quiver violently as his nose and his throat would fill up with mucus. Anything he could do to hold into the bursts of coughs that would have come. If you're struggling with allergies, stuffy nose, congestion, if you're suffering any of the symptoms, this video is meant to help you break free. So, where it all began for me was as I was moving through the grades, I would get seasonal allergies that led to something known as sinus congestion, right? Now, if you know what that is, you can skip to the next section, right? But sinus congestion refers to the blockage or the narrowing of the sinus passages in the nose, right, and in the head. When the sinuses are the small, air-filled cavities that are located in the facial bones around your nose and eyes, and when the sinuses become inflamed due to either allergies, infections, or other causes, they can become blocked and lead to symptoms such as nasal congestion, headaches, facial pain, pressure. Feeling that pressure you feel behind your eyes or behind your nose when your ears feel like full and like you want to pop them. That can lead to that. And this is a temporary condition that usually goes away on its own or with the help of over-the-counter medicine. However, more severe or chronic sinus congestion can require medical intervention. Alright, so now that that's over, sometimes this would affect me year-round, and I was never able to get better, right? So, I remember, how embarrassed I was of having to constantly sniffle, clear my throat, and cough, and discreetly trying to spit out the mucus. That way I would get better while I was in class. And it may not sound like much, but chances are, if you're still watching to this point, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? When you're stuck in class, it feels so embarrassing to keep getting up and down and repeatedly going to the trash can to spit out or to grab napkins, right? Or just cough in class, right? And not to mention breaking the silence by blowing your nose. Ugh, the worst, right? So you result in just holding it in, and which only makes you red-faced and frustrated in the end. These last 2 years, I haven't really gotten any seasonal allergies, and I very briefly did last year, but I can successfully say that it has been over a year since I have gotten them. And now, to you, this, again, may not seem very noteworthy. But for me, this is a huge deal. As a child, I would spend hours bent over a banister, spitting, hacking, coughing, blowing mucus out. Regardless, I would still always get sick. And sometimes I'd have to stay out of school because it would get so bad. Now the cure. With all of these years of congestion under my belt, I've finally developed a strategy to completely avoid getting it in the first place, and how to cure it when it's at, full force. So, I'm going to really quickly write this timestamp down, so that way I don't have to go back. But number 1 would be start at the symptoms. This is very, very basic advice, but when you feel your nose start running or filling with snot, you can feel little bits of phlegm, slimy bits, occasionally float into your mouth. And it's important to always get it out and not to swallow or sniffle it back in. you know. And I know this might seem a little, I don't know. I want to teach you how to blow your nose real quick, dog. So, for those of you that don't like blowing your nose, because this used to be me, I used to hate blowing my nose because it would irritate the bottom. Like, I have dry skin down here, and it would irritate the hell out of my, like, down here and make it sore and red for a few days. Right? I have a tip for you, and this is what really helped me. So I'm gonna use my shirt here. I'm going to teach you how to blow your nose. You're going to take one knuckle, right? And you're going to kind of plug, or not really like plug it, but just like hover over one nostril, right? And this is what helped me like so much. Like, I'd never get a sore nose anymore, right? And just blow one nostril at a time. So just, right? And then you do the other one. And what it does is it stops the pressure from coming out one nostril and it goes out the other. And you might ask, why is this important? It helps you, like, because when most people blow their nose, they like hold their full thing and like scrape down here. It completely eliminates that, so you won't get a sore nose from this. Now another part of this is, you know, you don't want to blow too hard, because you can get away with quite a lot of pressure, right? But chances are you could start bleeding. The weather's most likely changing and your nose is getting quite dry. This happened to me very recently, and I thought I was a goner. My nose was bleeding maybe twice a day for a solid week, and just from the weather being dry and cold. This is where I started to figure out like how to blow one nostril at a time, and really you are blowing both, like I said, but you're blocking one so the pressure is forced to come out the other, right? And if you have a bloody nose, then you can't put any pressure out, right? Because then it'll start bleeding again. So it really helps with that. Even if you have a bloody nose, you can still continue to blow your nose. Okay. Now, if you are in that situation and you are having nosebleeds, I want to share with you real quick how to stop that. So, I just wanted to add this little tip because a lot of you may have been taught to just stuff a napkin up your nose, you know, like roll up a napkin and like, you know what I'm saying? Like in wrestling practice, we'd have to take these long ass pieces of like chalk or something, and just like, right? Hammer that thing all the way up, and or like tilt your head back and like, you know, get the blood to dry. And that's how I was taught as well. But, and while those methods do work for like smaller, less nosebleeds, like less heavy downpour nosebleeds, for more intense flowing nosebleeds, it's more like I experienced, they are completely inefficient. What you want to do instead is when you find your nose bleeding, and this is a bit of the opposite of the whole tilt your head back and sniffle, right? But you want to breathe through your mouth while looking down, and you don't want to cover your nose or anything, but you want to like pinch your nose, right? And you can cover your nose if you for some reason can't stop breathing out of it, but you have to be sure to breathe out of your mouth, right? You can lean over a sink, or you can use a paper towel to catch the blood, but be sure to keep pressure on the bridge of your nose, like right here. It's like right under this hard bit, so if you feel your nose, there's like this hard bit, and then it gets like softer. I don't know if you could tell, but yeah, you want to pinch right there and don't breathe. You may have to wait closer to 30 to 40 seconds or even a couple minutes if this is your first time, but after understanding the area that you need to pinch, you'll be able to reduce that time significantly. And the beautiful thing about this part is it doesn't like, because when you lean back and you sniffle, it makes the blood hard and it makes it a mess in your nose, and so there's a bunch of like crusty bits everywhere. When you're doing it this way, it is forced to run along the top of your nose and will only leave blood, like a blood trail there. So you still have the rest of your nose to breathe through. I found this really nice. And then when you hit your nose, you don't have like, it doesn't feel like crystals poking you in the side and creating new cuts. That's just a little bit of a side tangent, but number 2, which is avoid certain foods, right? So, okay. Maybe you've heard this one before, but I used to talk to my friends about this, and many of them seemed quite surprised to learn that certain foods actually make this congestion worse, or their situation worse. What foods am I talking about, though? Mainly anything dairy related or sweets. If you can manage to stay away from those 2 things, you'll rapidly speed up your recovery. And now, why is this? Have you noticed that, have you ever noticed that, thick, slimy bit that comes up in your mouth after eating, yogurt, maybe candy, like a piece of pie, or, any cheese, or when you drink milk, right? That's mucus. And I've done some research on these kinds of foods, and they don't necessarily increase the production of mucus, but they do cause irritation, which can lead to other issues, making your recovery more difficult. And that's in my personal experience, at least. I've felt this. Now, along with eating, an important thing to mention is by the time the school day is ended, you should have drinking at least, by the very minimum, 2 bottles of water, right? Preferably 3 or 4. What this does is it separates the phlegm and breaks it up, and not making it so thick in your throat anymore. This pretty much just eases the pressure and irritation you feel in your throat and your head, and it makes it easier to get up. So, number 3. What time we at? Yeah, 12:14, boys. Alright. How do you cure it? If you're already in the hellhole with it, how do you cure it? Because I know this video is coming out quite late in the allergy season, but there are a few different things you can do to get better. The main thing is to spit it out. No excuses. Whatever the cost, you must pay for it. Do it. Right? For me, the allergies and congestion was the worst thing in the world to experience. I would rather be cheated on and broken up with. There are over-the-counter medications you can get to treat the issue, but, my favorite being Mucinex, but I've never actually liked taking medications, so I haven't really used it in quite a few years. What I've shared with you so far is how you can cure it naturally and without the assistance of any medication, natural remedies, if you will. However, even with medication, you will still not get better if you don't spit it out. You'll only be wasting your money if you don't spit it out. And where do you spit it out? I know this seems like really maybe autistically really narrowed down, but some of you's going to need it, and I'm not making fun of you for that. I was probably the same way. This will be a resistance for a lot of you. I recommend keeping a tissue, or preferably some kind of rag with you at all times, just some old dish rag or something. Alright, if you're in the middle of class, ask to use the restroom, grab a bunch of paper towels, fold them up, put them in your pocket, and maybe if your school doesn't have paper towels, and instead use blow dryers, then you can ask the teacher for multiple tissues, right? If you have to, go to the nurse. However, if after all that you're stuck, just use your clothes. I know it may seem gross, and it is kind of gross, but trust me, it's a way better alternative to struggling to hold in a cough every 2 minutes. I can't. I fucking can't, you guys. Oh, it was horrible. Just remembering that. Sitting in math class, feeling like everyone's staring at me and I'm making all these weird noises trying to hold in a cough. But You can spit out in your hand and rub it on your pants leg if you have to, and then if you have some hand sanitizer on your book bag, or you can, bring the brim of your hoodie up to your mouth, and kind of like, that kind of thing. Act like you're just pulling your hoodie up and like rubbing your chin or something. You could use your sleeve if you have to. Either way, treat it like it's life or death. Do not swallow it. Never allow yourself to swallow it. And any amount that you spit out is a huge, monumental step towards recovery, right? A weight has been lifted off of you. And any amount that you swallow has 2 times the effect going the other way. So if this much phlegm spat out was a huge step, then this much phlegm being swallowed will have the same amount as that much phlegm being spit out. But the other way. If that makes any sense. Anyway, this is a nasty situation, and you will have to drink or play dirty to walk out victorious. But that is the winning mindset. Fight like a dog. Do not let this sickness overcome you. If you let it, it can lead to your stomach filling up with too much mucus, and you will begin feeling nauseous, fatigued, or you can develop like pressure in your head and eyes, chronic headaches, sore throat, scratchy throat, sore nose, anything in between. And let's not forget about that dreaded cough, right? And your breath will smell like shit. I guarantee you, your breath will smell like shit. If you have a girlfriend, you will not be able to kiss her, because every time that phlegm comes up and you swallow it, it'll make your breath so maybe that's just dental hygiene. Just be good be good about dental hygiene. But boys, I hope this helped. Fight like hell and stay on task.